Right.
So, thanks for joining me today, Bobby. We're here to talk about your involvement with the Fast Tech project. And if you could just start by telling us a little bit about the history students on the program. So, how many of them are there? Who are they? What kinds of subjects do they study?
Okay, fine. The students that we tried the logbooks out on were actually first year historians. They were doing the core module, which is on a history of London. And the idea was that they were able to record their um, their views, their ideas, their reflections on what they had learnt in particular classes. They were able to think further about what they'd been doing. We asked them also to keep a log of other things that they'd done. They had 4 research days throughout the year, and we asked them to actually write a 750 word or record a 750 word report on their research for that day. We also asked them to keep a track of any meetings they'd had for their project groups and to think about what they needed to do for their final presentation, which gained them 40% of their module mark. Now, their presentation was the culmination of the module. It was the culmination of their 4 research days. It was the culmination of their independent research that they were doing and of their group research that they were doing. So it became quite an important log for them because everything that they needed for this final 40% of their course mark was gathered from their logbooks. They were encouraged to upload pictures, maps, documents, anything that they needed for their presentations and for their reflection on their work. The logbooks were marked 5 times throughout the academic year, and each time they were marked, they were given a specific mark for that particular section of their logbook, and they had a cumulative mark added at the end of the year. The logbook itself got them a 10% mark at the end of the year for actually doing it, which was quite difficult in some cases. Some of the students weren't able to deal with Blogger, which is what we used, mainly because I suppose they were technophobes, and despite us having some professional help in, we asked Graham to come and talk to them and to help them set it up. I helped them set them up. Some of them just weren't ready to use that type of a logbook. And I think from that point of view, if I'm going to do it this year again, which I am, I think we need to help them just that little bit more to get into the way of using them. Some, of course, being first-year students, didn't bother to do them at all, so therefore they failed and got to do a 4,000-word essay instead. So I don't think that they will be doing that again. But I would say that 90%, more than 90% of the students actually did complete the logbook, and they were very interesting. It was surprising. Those that did very well on the assessment were able to gain quite a good mark, and that mark really did improve their overall mark for the module. They were interesting, and I think that they had, over the period of the year, had learnt how to reflect, which I found quite interesting, because I was afraid that they wouldn't understand what reflection was, despite them having it explained to them both by yourself and by me and by the seminar tutors, and by having them marked every 6 weeks or so. But the majority of them did actually, in the end, reflect quite well, which I was very pleased with.
And I understand that you had used paper versions of the logbooks.
We had,
so
yes.
What was your rationale for, so the rationale for that, it sounds like, was the reflection and the deep learning.
Yes.
What was the rationale for using Blogger as opposed to the paper?
There were several reasons, not least of which was the fact that I'm trying to become paperless, as we all are.
Is that for ecological reasons?
For ecological reasons, yes. I mean, you know, they hand in so much paperwork to us. And also it seemed to me that by using something like Blogger, they could actually input much more into it, rather than collecting together a load of notes and then writing them up. They could actually do this at the time. Straight away after a class, they could sit down. They could find what they wanted to do on it, and I think it encouraged them more. Adding images to a Word document, you know, you've got to go some to make it look good, make it interesting. Whereas with the blogs, because they were doing one day at a time, one page at a time, should I say, those that were good at it and those who succeeded very well, they were adding such amazing things which I don't think they would have added or even thought about had they been doing it on paper.
And did they link to other work then, you know, hyperlinks to other...
Oh yes, all sorts of things, yeah, hyperlinks to everything. Hyperlinks to pieces of work that they'd done, hyperlinks to images that they liked that were too big to actually upload, images to web links to websites, interesting things they'd found in newspapers and in articles. You know, oh, I found this, and you know they've scanned an image and stuck it in. You know, they really did. I think they got into, in a way, mini web design almost. They were using them like web pages, and I really did find an improvement overall in their logbooks by doing it this way. So yes, I think it was a good decision to make over the paper.
And could they see each other's logbooks, or was it only available to the teaching team? Because there were several teachers involved, because it was the first year module.
Yes. They were not available to other students. They were available to me. They were available to me and to the other tutors, and I think they allowed each other in their research groups, for their presentations, to look at them and draw inspiration, I suppose, because you know some of them were saying to me, "Oh, I don't know what to write in it." So I said, "Well, you know, have a word with your rest of your group and see what they're doing." And they were going back to them and saying, "Oh, what have you done?" And then when they found that one member of their group had got a really good mark for one section of their logbook, they wanted to know how they could make their logbook. So they were coming back to me for a tutorial, and I was explaining more about what they could put in again and again. So I think, you know, repetition of me saying what you could do with your logbooks and how you could use your logbooks actually did help to improve what they were doing. Yeah.
Okay. And what about the staff? How did they find the experience of using Blogger as opposed to the paper versions or the Word document versions that you've tried in the past?
The majority of them were okay once they'd got it into their heads how it would work. One of them was not a great lover of using computers in any way for you know, online stuff like blogging and things like that. But he soon got into the habit, and in the end, you know, when we had the final meeting after the end of the module, they all of them said that they actually had enjoyed doing that themselves. And the other thing that really did work was marking them every few weeks, rather than at the end when you've got to read yards and yards of it. I mean, there's 140 odd students on this module, so you know it was much easier to do it that way for us and for the students, I think, because the students were getting more feedback throughout the year, which they normally would have only have got at the end. So yeah, I think I found it quite successful.
So did you have one of the learning technologists or one of the Fast Tech team help you said that Graham from the Fast Tech team came to support the students with the blog.
Yeah.
Did you do the same for the staff?
They were in on it. They were there at the class, so that was fine.
Right.
And
the students will keep that blog. Is that also, I think, if I remember correctly, that was one of the reasons you wanted to go to something electronic rather than the paper, is they'll keep that same blog over the 3 years of the...
That's right, yeah. The plan is that it will be used as well for the second year core module that they're going to be doing when they come back in October. So I've yet to actually train up the tutor for that.
What advice would you give to someone else, whether in history or any other subject, who's thinking of using blogs, whether it's Blogger or any other branded program, for encouraging reflective, deep learning over that sustained period of the 3 years?
I would say give it a whirl. Try it. There obviously are hiccups along the line, particularly if they can't get online for some reason. It does make it difficult. But they don't lose them in the same way that they lose documentation, documents on Word and so on. So I think it's well worth a try to see whether it fits into your particular type of teaching, your particular subject. I think it helps if the person who is actually teaching the module or is running the module is interested in this type of thing. I don't think it would be for somebody who's not necessarily interested in this type of thing. You know, there are people who still like the pen and paper, or even the Word document and paper. But I think it's well worth trying. It's easy to use. It's all set out for them. The students don't even have to set it up as, it's got themes and styles that they can use to help them make it look nice. But then if you've got the student who or even the lecturer, the staff member who's interested in it, they can help to really, really make these individualise them. And that's one of the things that I liked about it, was that the students could individualise it. So go for it, I say.
Thanks, Bobby. That's really useful. So thank you for your time today, and hopefully we'll get this up on the Fast Tech website to share with our colleagues around the UK and possibly.
That's brilliant. Lovely. Thank you, Joelle.
Thanks.